What is up, YouTube? That's today. I'm back from our Pokemon VGC 2023 Regulation E ranked battles, and today we're going to be taking a look at a team that features Scizor. This is submitted by one of my patrons on my official Patreon team submission post. If you guys have a team you want me to take a look at, think about checking out the link to the Patreon in the description of this video. Even the lowest tier, the $2 tier, gets access to this team submission post where I'll do my very best to fix your team and make a video about it, as well as all the other rental codes I make for all the other teams that I use. So think about checking it out if that's at all interesting to you. And we're scrolling all the way down to Ryuzaki's post. They're going to be taking this team to the Stuttgart Regional Championships, and they want me to optimize it for best of 3. That's the, the best of 3 open team sheet where you have to give your opponent a team sheet that shows all of your moves. So we're going to be doing our very, very best to fix this team to make it shine in that format. I think they're doing a lot of things right. They talk about having Fargiraffe, and I really like how specific they are talking about the mons that they're good and they're bad against. So I think we can actually fix a lot of this stuff. I think Scizor is a pretty good Pokemon in the Regulation E format as well. Let me know. The question of the day is, what do you think about Scizor in the Regulation E format? But yeah, going over and looking at this, they do a lot of things right. Their EV spreads are pretty on point for most of these mons. I think the one thing that we can actually take a look at and fix is that things like this. So when you get into an open team sheet and you see like Life Orb on like a Fargiraffe that doesn't have Protect, that tells right away that's a huge aggressive Fargiraffe. And there's nothing wrong with being aggressive Fargiraffe, but if we kept like the same EV spread and made ourselves have like a more defensive item, they might think that's more of a reactive pick. Whereas initially, like, we can actually just blow people up with it. So I actually think like Fargiraffe could be optimized a little bit. I think Tornadus can be optimized a little bit. I like the Arcanine. I like the Shempow. If you're comfortable with the Amoonguss, I'd say keep it. But we're going to play some games with it. And then from there, we're going to work on, fixing some of these things. And yeah, I would say if you guys want to test this rental code out for yourself, the rental code is right here. So think about checking it out. And without further ado, let's just get right into these games. Wish me luck. Here we go. Alright, here we go, bundle. Now the first thing I would like to do when I'm playing with a team like this is check and see what level of like dynamic speed control our opponent's team has. Do they have something like a Prankster boosted Tailwind? Are they a hard Trick Room team? Things like that. It looks like the only real forms of speed control in this team are going to be like Icy Wind from like a booster energy bundle, maybe Trick Room from Infinity, maybe like a Bulldoze or like Rock Tomb from Landorus. So as long as we're not getting hit by those, we're going to be fine. I think we can actually get away with leading like, I would say Arcanine is a good lead here. I think we need the Tornadus to help us get over that little hurdle that the bundle has. And then as long as we're bringing something that can pin that bundle, like an Arcanine, I think we can be in a good spot. That being said, I think Shenpao is going to be a very, very good mon here. I will say that I'm not the biggest fan of Amoonguss on this team, because like Amoonguss shares the same weakness with Shenpao and Scizor to that Heatran. We're already pretty weak to Heatran, so like this is where if you were to bring Amoonguss, which you do have the Water Terra on the Amoonguss, which is a good Terra choice, I feel like Amoonguss just isn't really cutting it, and you'd be greatly benefiting from a secondary mon with some more speed control, or maybe even like an Urshifu. Big water type that doesn't need a Terra to use that water typing to swap in could be very, very good in this situation. You could also use like a Water Pond there. I think it could be a very, very solid mon. That being said, what do we want in this last spot? We should be trying to feature Scizor because that's the mon that was requested. Scizor really does struggle versus Heatran. It's not that great into Indeedee. We don't have a lot of terrain control, but I also think that we're using like Life Orb Fargiraffe. I think I talked about this at the very start, but having that Life Orb basically tells them like, hey, you can hit me and I'll just fall over, and we don't have Protect to make them play that little mental game 50-50. So in my personal opinion, things like the Clear Amulet Scizor, things like the Life Orb on the Fargiraffe, you're basically telling your opponent what your EV spreads are by showing them those item choices. And I think there are better ways to do it. I think you should make them have to figure out your EV spread over the course of the game by having a little bit more defensive items. But anyways, that being said, is this going to be a Lava Plume board? Big Lava Plume potential here. It's potentially Scarf Chi-Yu. Scarf Chi-Yu next to Heatran. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm actually going to click the Tailwind because I will respect the Scarf. Click the Tailwind. And I know that Heatran is a big problem for this team. It is a very big problem here. I'm going to just head smash it right in the face. Right in the kisser. You can swap out for Orlando. I don't care. This Heatran still might go down. This is a banded head smash. 150 base power stab. There's the Lando. You might still lose this Heatran, or at the very least, like, it's going to be low enough that we can just bring out something and bully, right? Which is what we want to do here. That being said, Tailwind is up. Nice to see. And Heatran gets hit with the head smash. Let's go. Big damage. Almost takes it out. That is sick. Now, you can totally Earth Power me here. I'm letting you do this. Congrats. I didn't want to waste the Terra. I don't think you need to waste Terras on turn 1 a lot of the time. And I really like Arcanine as a mon because it forces your opponent to like really overcommit in those situations. They take a ton of damage on that Heatran. They show us that they're leftovers. And yeah, I think we're going to be okay. But do you kind of see where I was talking about? Like, if we had the ability to have like a water pawn on this team instead of like a Scizor here, a water pawn would be so good at breaking all those fire types that are so good versus our team. So water pawn really is becoming a front runner slowly for what I think this team should have in that slot instead of the Amoonguss. That being said, I think we're doing okay here. We could definitely go into the Heatran slot. I'm going to click the Bleak one in case they want a Grass Terror to block something. And yeah, we could go into the Lando slot, but I don't really think I should care about Lando all that much. I think I can actually just Sacred Sword this Heatran. This is where I'm not the biggest fan of like bulky Torn. I know that you're using bulky Torn, that's fine for what we're doing here, but they should be scared. I'm just going to Sacred Sword this slot. I think the Lando's pivoting out to want to reapply Intimidate later on the Shimpow. There it is. So we don't ever have to pull the trigger there. We don't ever have to. That's the value that we got. And what is coming in to eat this Bleak Wind? Indeedee. Cool. Now, I'd like to see if they Terrasilize Heatran. I doubt it. They're probably just protecting. But then next turn, we can just go Ice Spinner. And because we're sashed, we're still in a really, really good spot. I think we have Ice Spinner. We should have Ice Spinner, not Icicle Crash. So good to know. Bleak Wind. It should be really good to hit this Indeedee. Like, really nice. I'm not even kidding. Please let me hit the Indeedee. Let's go. Nice. We already saw leftovers on Heatran, but I just want to make sure that we can get it out of range of like a Citrus if they have it. So, that being said, there's two things we can do here. That Heatran can get away with basically with whatever it wants, but I'm just going to go with Bleak Wind again, force them to hit some good moves. We're going to Ice Spinner. I'm going to target the Indeedee. I could Sacred Sword this same slot, but let's see if they're good enough to actually make the Protect Indeedee potential fodder their Heatran play to then regain board state with their Lando. Because actually the right play here is Protect Indeedee. Do whatever you want with the Heatran. If I hit the Heatran, you can then bring out your Landorus and then go follow me. Right? You can then go follow me and like Rock Slide me out of the game. That would be the really good play from them, but looks like they're not making it the correct way. They might not die on the Indeedee this turn though. I like that switch too. Just because like, you know, if I was gonna go Sacred Sword it'd be blocked, but you know, they're just soaking the damage. Cool. This works for me. Any Rocky Helmet here? It is Rocky Helmet. Good play from them. So yeah, like, they could have just broke me right there with the Heatran. They could just remove the Shimpow from the board. They also didn't click follow me. Oh my gosh, are they Trick Rooming me here? Yeah, go nuts. I mean, I can Sucker Punch things now. I don't know about this one. I don't think this is the right play because now, all my mons, like I have one turn on Trick Room. We can just chill. Note that I could not have taunted there because there was still terrain on the board as well. Last turn of Trick Room. Yeah, we can just go Bleak Wind. Protect Shimpow. We can actually like Sucker Punch something if we really wanted to. I think I'm actually just going to hard swap in Scizor here. And just go for some damage. I don't need to protect right now. I don't think they're going after the Shimpow slot that much either. And we also won't lose our Torn. And our Torn I think is like a bulkier Rocky Helmet set. So we should be fine here. So Helping Hand Lando. If you're just Rock Sliding, like it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, Rock Slide sucks. That's fine. Oof, I lied. Is that a crit? There's not even a Shimpow on the board anymore. Is that Banded Lando then? Huh. Tail Impeder's out. This should be fine. The way this is also going to go down as well is I'm going to be able to Sucker Punch whatever I want, and there's no more Intimidate, right? So if I were to click Bullet Punch, that would make it so I'd still be able to correctly Sucker Punch the Landorus. And that being said, I don't know if this KOs Landorus. We're using Jolly Shimpow, right? Yeah. I think this KOs Landorus. I'm going to try it. But yeah, Bullet Punch wants to go in the Indeedee first. I guess we could double target, but like, we could also detect. No, I think this is fine. Bullet Punch the Indeedee, Sucker Punch the Landorus slot. So this should still make this work because Scizor's slower than Shimpow, right? So the Bullet Punch is going to come in first, right? Which means we're still going to be able to Sucker Punch correctly. They're using Follow Me right there to actually avoid the Sucker Punch, but, you know, we're doing our best. And then we should be able to pin the Heatran with the Sucker Punch. So hopefully this gets the KO, right? SP baby! Oh my gosh, they're so bulky! Yeah, it's going to be game. They're totally banded. Again, I'm trying to think of like what we need to do here. And again, you know, our opponent played really, really well in this situation. But if we're looking at what we like could be doing differently, we have like a fire weakness here. We have like a fire weakness here. We have a fire weakness here. And I think it's more than just having fire weaknesses. You got to think, what moves do like fire Pokemon have? Like, what are the popular fire Pokemon? Chi-Yu, Heatran. So it's like, it's more than just having a fire weakness here, here, and here. It's also like, we can't bring Fire Giraffe either because like Chi-Yu would break that, or we can't bring Hisuian Arcanine in some situations because Heatran would break that. And so if you're struggling with a team like this, I think like we need to add like that one mon that can pivot in, soak up a bunch of that, big energy from fire types. Because again, like I would say a water palm would be very good against both Heatran and Chi-Yu and most other mons that will be using fire type moves. So that's the thing is like I don't really think the Amoonguss is going to be giving you that much value. And then from there, I also don't think that you need Fargiraf, but that's just my opinion. We're going to go into another game and just start thinking like, what could this team be doing just a little bit differently? Again, we're also trying to force Scizor in matchups where maybe it might not be the best. But again, we're just trying to get an understanding of what we need to do with Scizor. So we're going to go into the next game. Here we go. So let's see. Is that Dozo? Yeah, we don't have a good matchup against Dozo. We have Sacred Sword on Shenpao, and this is where Amoonguss could be valuable. But that being said, it's like, I'm going to hope that it's... We're gonna scout for what kind of Dozo it is. I'm gonna lead Arcanine. I think Arcanine is also a very good lead versus like Entity Armarouge, and I think I'm actually gonna go like, are we gonna overcommit? Which one are we gonna overcommit to beat? This is a good lead against both. Doesn't really matter. Those two are good. Scizor can definitely come, but I don't think it's like amazing. And then you could bring this to Trick Room there on Trick Room, but again, our Fargiraf has Fairy Terra, which normally you'd want like some sort of Dragon or Terra to like resist, or maybe not even Fairy. You might want something like Dark to be able to, mitigate the Expanding Force back, or something like Dragon to mitigate like a Heat Wave back or something to be able to do that back at them. But that being said, all of these are good. I'm going to bring the Amoonguss. I don't necessarily know if it's right, but we should be trying to feature most of the mons. I also think like Amoonguss is still like a really, really good mon, but against like all of the grass types that are in the meta right now, Rillaboom, Fire Ponds, Water Ponds, all those different things, I think that... yeah, it's just rough to use Amoonguss if you don't have like the right team. I think you need like Amoonguss, Heatran, like Iron Hands. I don't think you try and slot in Amoonguss on like a Shenpao, Fargiraf, Scizor board. It just doesn't have the same synergy. So Dozo, Entity, really, really good stuff. They're going to be blocking a lot of priority. We're going to be scouting for if they're unaware or oblivious. And like I've seen a lot of Oblivious Dozo. I personally like a lot of Oblivious Dozo, but we're going to be trying to cycle these Intimidates. That's the whole point here. So they're setting their terrain. I think it's absolutely fine. I don't really care that much. I actually am just going to protect my Shenpao and pivot in Amoonguss. And we don't need to do anything. We want to wait and make them do Dozo things. I don't care if you want to Trick Room me, like, go nuts. I just swapped in an Amoonguss, right? And I want to check on the Amoonguss to make sure we're at least speed reduce 0 speed. Nice that we are. So we're doing an okay job here. But yeah, like... in this sort of situation, I think that like a Water Pond would also just be like the nail in the coffin for like a Dozo team. You can't Earthquake it. Order Up's not that great after you stick to one Intimidate. One pivot to a Water Pond here would be the nail in the coffin versus this whole team. So maybe think about using a Water Pond. We can make you a pretty good EV spread for it. Or if you have one, maybe think about using it yourself. Let me know. You guys watch in the comments. Do you guys also agree with most of the stuff I'm saying here? I think that Water Pond would be a very, very good addition to this team and a great mon to like relieve pressure and also make ourselves not just auto lose to Urshi. They didn't really talk about Urshifu Water being a problem, but like Urshifu Water looks to be a huge problem for me here. Like I'm trying to think what they even do here. But Tatsu coming in here, they're going all in on that Dozo tech, and we usually want to wait and see what the Dozo does. Like, are you terastallizing? What are you doing? We eventually have Sacred Sword, which can deal good damage to the Dozo, but we want to make them go all in. Like, imagine if I went for a Sacred Sword into that guy, and they went, like, Protect Dozo Trick Room, or, like, Protect Dozo Dazzling Gleam. I don't want any of that. So now that they're all in on the Dozo, we should be fine here with the Amoonguss. And they are terastallizing. See, like, they're going all in. Like, what if they go Ghost Terror and we try to Sacred Sword him here? That'd be, like, the worst thing ever. Or, goodness forbid, what if we hit the Entity slot? We can just Ice Spinner this guy now. Like, easy peasy. And note that, like, Amoonguss is now hot garbage here. But you know what wouldn't be hot garbage? Water Pond. So, hopefully, understand a little bit of, like, what I'm trying to say here. This Amoonguss also does not have, it doesn't have that Clear Smog. Not that it needs it. I don't think Clear Smog Amoonguss is that great either. I think what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to side Pollen Puff my Shenpao. I'm planning on soaking a lot of damage here. We're going to try and get some, I don't know how much damage they're going to deal. And I can protect cards which are an Arcanine. This is a hard turn. I'm going to hard switch in Arcanine. And I'm going to get a second Intimidate, right? And then I'm going to Ice Spinner here. And then I'm going to protect card switch in Amoonguss. And then I'm going to try and like Pollen Puff myself back out. I think that's the best way to do it. Hopefully they're not weakness policyed on Dozo, right? That's probably the best way to do it. But it's so greedy, like leading Shenpao. It's so hard to just like lead Shenpao. I think Shenpao's a really good mon at like being able to come in the mid game. But like having games where you just lead Shenpao, like I think it's really dicey. I think Arcanine's a solid lead. I think your team is made of like mostly solid leads. This is where things like Arcanine are solid. An Urshifu would be solid if you also want to use that instead of a Water Pond. That's great damage. Hope we're not proccing a policy. Taking away the terrain so we can then next turn go for some big priority. Order up is going to be absolutely fine. It's not doing that much. I think this is an attack boosting Tatsu though. Good job. All right, so now we can just Flare Blitz this guy out. I think I'm going to have to Terastallize my Arcanine and just, well, Flare Blitz would probably get the KO. We're fine. I wonder if they're going to protect. If they are going to protect, I could just pivot in my Amoonguss and be fine. But yeah, we're going to do this. I don't want to die. So normal Terra there. This still does more than Sacred Sword does. You can protect and get a leftover stick. I don't really care. Not really afraid of these guys. Right now, they're still at -1 on that Dozo. So we should be able to get the KO. And yeah, let's see what happens here. We still have the Amoonguss in the back. Amoonguss is going to be great versus, you know, most of what they're using here. I'm assuming the last one they have is Armarouge. And Armarouge is going to be dicey to beat because they're going to be able to bring that entity back in, set the terrain. Going to stop us from being able to go for like sucker punches and stuff against it if we even ever want to. But we should be able to have some value if they, even if they do get up Trick 'em with Amoonguss in the back. So that being said, no protect. Big damage here. Big damage. Arcanine should be able to get the KO here. And it's actually really nice. Oh, they just go for the Earthquake. So they're still at -1. We're fine unless they crit. Nice. So being able to Terastallize our Arcanine, really, really good mon here. Flare Blitz takes this guy out. Now remember, we are locked into Flare Blitz now versus like Tatsugiri and potential Armarouge. That's not great. But we can just like swap out Arcanine, Ice Spinner if the entity comes back out to remove terrain. And then from there go into like more of a like E-Speed finish off the Armarouge tech. That's kind of what I'm thinking we want to do. We also might just Flare Blitz / Ice Spinner into the Tatsugiri. I don't think that's terrible. I guess you could still hit the entity with it too. That would be, I'd rather hit the entity with it. Which one of those would be more common to have Protect? It'd be really hard to say. This is where if we were playing Open Team Sheet, like this team was submitted for, we know exactly what to do to hit the Pokemon that wouldn't have Protect here and just pin those people out of the game. So that being said, I'm just going to go after the entity because I don't want to get Trick Roomed. And worst case scenario, I get like Muddy Watered or Dracoed. I think that would suck, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. If anything, it would free up a slot for us to bring out something good. So we're going to Flare Blitz, KO this entity, and Ice Spinner away the terrain. Again, if they want to protect, more power to them. Next turn, we just do the same thing. So let's go into it. I'm trying to think, they have to have Armarouge here. So that's what I'm thinking, like, they're trying to, I wonder actually, if I were to Ice Spinner my own Mom, would that still remove the terrain? I've never actually had to do that mechanic before. But this is one of those situations where as long as I get the terrain off the board, we'd be able to win. They are going for the Helping Hand play. Not bad. Tatsu's a good mono. Let's see if it's Scarf Tatsu. It is Scarf Tatsu, but they're going to miss a move, so nothing we can really do about that. We do not remove the terrain, but we should be able to take the entity off the board. Huh. Well, it's getting dicey. It is getting dicey. Entity almost goes down. It's actually probably a good thing that it didn't go down. And we went down. So we have Amoonguss left. And I'm trying to think of what the other mon that we brought is. I think we brought Scizor. This is where if we had that terrain, like, oh my gosh, that would have been so nice. Or the terrain gone, that would have been nice. Now we're going to kind of struggle versus this Armarouge, right? Like, if it is even Armarouge. Because Armarouge can just come out and Heat Wave us into oblivion. So you see, like, that Water Pond, man. I'm trying to tell you, like, this Water Pond. It'd be so nice. But here's Scizor. I think we're just going to go protect Scizor. And I'm just going to Spore the Tatsugiri. We can actually ignore the entity right now. Because I don't think there's a reason to go after it. And then we'll go for like a +2, 3, 4 with like Swords Dance. I think that Scizor would be outspeeding this Armarouge, but it is kind of hard to say. Scizor has a 65 base speed versus Armarouge, which is I think 75. But Armarouges are usually built speed reduced nature. So Scizor could outspeed. That being said, we still need to get a couple Swords Dances off. And then if we have both of our mons, Amoonguss and Scizor, there's a good chance that we might be able to like protect Scizor once, go for a Sleep Powder in the Armarouge. They're just going all in with this Tatsugiri, so we don't want to take ton of damage if we can help it. And like we already said, they're scarfed on that Tatsu, so we don't really care. Muddy Water. No accuracy drops my Amoonguss, please. Please. Okay. No! No, oh my gosh, not like this. Alright, so Tatsu goes to sleep, but that's still going to be really bad. And we're trying to wait out the terrain here, so we actually don't want to KO anything right now. If anything, we're just going to go Swords Dance, and we're just going to go for, like... We should just Spore this entity and just let it chill. We don't want to KO anything. Yeah, I'll do that. I don't think the Entity has anything that's like really scary. Usually Entities don't even carry Psychic anymore. They usually just carry Dazzling Gleam. So Swords Dance is absolutely fine. Tatsu had to be asleep that turn, by the way. There's the Dazzling. Yeah, we do not care. Do not care. So you're going to go to bed. And since you already used a move, is it Goggles? No, it's not. We just missed. Yeah, we already saw Rocky Omen on there. Never lucky. All right, so we can get a double KO this turn. And 2 turns left on side terrain. Yeah, we're absolutely fine. I'm trying to think of, do I need any more Swords Dances? They might try the Helping Hand Muddy Water play to do good damage to Scizor here. Try and wake up after 1 turn sleep. I think this is okay. We don't actually want to, like, KO anything just yet. We can always do it next turn, wait out the terrain, just win the game. And we're trying to make sure they can't, like, swap in the Armarouge to the best of our ability. Yes, they can swap out the Tatsu for Armarouge, but, like, even if they do that, next turn we just double protect, wait out their last turn of terrain, and then we go Bullet Punch Spore or something like that. I think we'll have shots. And this is all, again, hoping that we don't miss our Spore. Man, using Scizor is so hard. All right, so the Tatsu's asleep. Entity's going for an attack of some sort. We're going to +4 on this Scizor. Watch him laugh like the last mon isn't even Armarouge, bro. Can you please just get put to sleep, Entity? There we go. Big Spore galore. Cool. So we're going to Bug Bite this Tatsu. Get the KO over there. Yeah, what do they have? It could be Torn. It could also be Rock Pawn, which if it's Rock Pawn, we just win. I think. I think we win versus Rock Pawn. Protect here is going to be good. Not Protect, sorry. Bug Bite, the Tatsu is going to be good. We're just going to protect our Amoonguss. We don't need to do anything spectacular with it. We actually don't want them to wake up and Muddy Water the Amoonguss anymore. We cannot actually risk getting another speed drop. We don't need to side Pollen Puff here. We also don't need to take out the Entity. I guess we could try and take out the Entity. That might have been a better play. With just a Pollen Puff, that might have been a better play. But I think we're okay here. I don't know. Let's see what they're going to do. Yeah, I should have done that. I should have done that. Even I make mistakes, right? But let's see. If they just swap out that Tatsu, big game over for them. Let's see. This is the last turn of the side terrain as well. So they might even swap out the Entity. But they're not. Cool, so we're going to get a KO unless they wake up, Muddy Water, actually drop us. Oh my gosh, the wake up. Oh my gosh, the Muddy Water. Oh my gosh, the misses. Right, any misses? Survey says. Yo, we take those. Cool. Hey, value. Value for me. Redemption. Cool. So Tatsu goes down. Their last Pokemon is either A, Armarouge, or B, Tornadus, or C, Rock Pawn. I think Rock Pawn's a very, like, normal option here, but it could just be Armarouge, and Armarouge would be great. The only question is, like, do we outspeed the Armarouge? Are they using Armor Cannon? Are they using Heat Wave? Heat Wave would absolutely melt our Scizor in half. But let's see. Let us see. And we have the Amoonguss that, like, has an accuracy drop. So, like, our options versus Armarouge are, like, we don't know if it's Heat Wave or Armor Cannon, but if it's Heat Wave, the right play is just try and KO it. It was right there. If it's Armor Cannon, though, we can Rage Powder it away. So we just don't know which one it is. I'm going to try the Armor Cannon route. I'm going to go for the Bug Bite. I'm going to hope that I'm faster. I'm going to Rage Powder away the Armor Cannon in case they are faster. And if for some reason they want to Trick Room us, like Follow Me Trick Room or something weird, then we just Spore them, right? You don't want to do that. So if you have Heat Wave and you're faster than my Scizor, be my guest, be my guest, be my guest. But we're doing our absolute best here. I wish we had Water Pawn. Water Pawn would have solved this matchup so free. That's okay. Alright, Entity's asleep. They tried to go for Follow Me. Like I said, I should have went for the Pollen Puff last turn. They tried to follow me there. Survey says, what is this Armarouge doing? Heat Wave or Armor Cannon? None of the above, bro. We are faster with the Scizor. That is a speed-reduced Armarouge, and we do win the game. Nice. We take those. Shoutouts to Scizor being absolutely busted, and then from here we just win the game. Cool. All right, so not the cleanest win, but can you kind of see where I'm saying, like, even against teams like this, which, like, I would say that's a good level, like, 2-2-2, you know, Dozo, Armarouge, Entity team, you're going to see stuff like that. Having that one water type, specifically one that has, like, water absorb and stuff like that, we would have been able to solve this matchup, like, so much easier. So if you're losing games to, like, things like this, Are like Ogre Pond, especially like the Water Pond variant, being able to like redirect just like Amoonguss can, have the big grass attacks, you know, kind of like the Amoonguss roll, be that grass type pivot for big earthquakes, for big water moves, for big fire moves. I think that's the last thing that your team really does need. Also, like Water Pond is a good mon to like pair with Tornadus in some situations too. It's like a secondary like lead option, so you don't have to just lead with Shenpao. So we take this KO on the Entity, we're gonna get the win, and like I'm trying to think of like what else we really want this team to do. I think the Scizor is fine. We need to mess with its items and its EVs and stuff like that. I'm not really vibing with Fargiraffe. If you really do like the way this guy plays, I would highly suggest using a Gothitelle instead. But that being said, like, how often are you even bringing Fargiraffe? I'd like to know, right? I'd like to know how often you're even bringing Fargiraffe, or if it's just one of those things just there to like scare off priority moves. Because if it's one of those things that's just there to scare off priority moves in the mirror, we can just give you better priority moves. So that's the thing, is it's like Scizor doesn't care about most of the priority move users in the game right now. Like, yeah, it sucks getting sucker punched, but like other than that, like we don't have to worry about extreme speed. You know, fake out can be dealt with in other ways. But that being said, let's go into the last game, and yeah, let's see what this one looks like here. Grimmsnarl. I hope they don't fake out me with Grim. But that being said, they have like Flutter, Chi-Yu, Rillaboom, King Gambit, and a Kleavor. Yo, I have to fight them with Scizor, right? This is definitely a Scizor game. We have, is it Dragon Terra Scizor? That's so sick. All right. Well, they don't have like dynamic speed control, so something like Tornadus could be good. I think Tornadus is going to be very, very nice. They also don't have access to Intimidate. The best they can do is screens. So that being said, like, I like the Tornadus. I want to check the Amoonguss. You had Water Terra, right? Might be a good idea to actually lead Amoonguss and Tornadus. It's very passive. I want to lead with 2 mons that have Protect. I'm going to lead like this. These 2 mons have Protect. I'm going to bring the Arcanine out as a closer, as well as the Scizor. I'm going to try and close them out. That's the idea here. Okay. That's the idea. So we're going to go like double Protect if they lead like Grim. We're going to let them Reflect, and then from there, we're going to see how they want to play it. I don't really care about them getting a Reflect up against our team. But we're also bringing stuff that, like, I don't think they're going to bring Rilla. I think that, like, Fluttermane's good against our team. I think Chi-Yu's good against our team. I think Kleavor could be very, very good against our team, and that's one of the reasons why we want to lead 2 mons. They can, like, bully the Kleavor if possible. I want to see also if they're, like, going heavily into, like, Grim with, like, Speed Control with, like, Scary Face or Thunder Wave. That's one of the reasons why I led Shenpao as opposed to leading Arcanine. I'm going to do my very best to, like, get that Grim off the board or mitigate what the Grim's trying to do with Shenpao before having to do all that stuff with, like, Scizor and Arcanine. We could also have just led Scizor and just, like, bullet punch the Grim. So, like, they shouldn't even bring Grim here. This is a very, very good lead from our opponent. They're going to fake out 1 mon, and I don't really care who it is. I think I'm actually going to Terastallize the Shenpao this turn. I'm surprised they brought Rillaboom. But no, one thing to note, we don't also need a Tailwind right now. I think they're probably going to go actually, like, fake out. They might go fake out Terra Swords Dance. I'm actually just going to click Bleak Wind, because we don't have to do anything right now. And I'm going to go Ghost Terra and Sacred Sword. We're going to play this, like, super basic. I can even Ice Spinner there, but I don't want to let them get a Swords Dance. If you want to waste, like, we're trading Terras here. I'm initiating a Terra trade. Are you willing to accept the Terra trade? Or are you going to sucker punch my Shenpao? Oh, dude, if they, like, Grassy Guide sucker punch my Shenpao, they're just better than me. They're just better than me. Holy moly. Fake out? Yeah, it's going to get blocked. Cool. Hey, we're going all in here. And note that they didn't Terra, right? So, like, I'm not letting you Swords Dance. I'm not letting you do it. I'm not letting you do it, buddy. Sorry. They probably thought that there's no way that I'd, like, pull my trigger this early and go Terra. But, like, if this is your board, you're taking big damage here. And I will say that you didn't KO that Rillaboom because your Tornadus is not heavy special attack investment, and you gotta have enough special attack investment to KO those Rillas in single target situations like that. It's not that many points, but it's still definitely worth it. So what do we do here? Now that we see the Fluttermane, we can chill a little bit. What do they have in the back? It's not Kleavor, it's not Grim, it's most likely Chi-Yu. So that being said, I'm gonna Sacred Sword the Rillaboom and Tailwind to enable. No, we don't even need a Tailwind because we have a Scizor in the back, right? Scizor, Arcanine, yeah, we do need a Tailwind, sorry. So yeah, we'll Tailwind and Sacred Sword Rillaboom because it would still be able to KO no matter what. And if they swap in the Chi-Yu trying to get cute, resetting that fake out, they'll just lose the game. Battle's canceled. I'll take that. I mean, it was over, you know. It was over. We won. So, yeah, we take those wins all the way to the bank. Sometimes just playing the game correctly works. But that being said, I do think that this team does, like, a lot of things right. But if we're talking specifically about, like, an open team sheet best of 3 situations, I think, like, showing that you're clear on right here. Yes, this says you don't get intimidated, but, like, like, it just basically says you're all in. Like, a citrus here would make this Scizor a lot harder to remove. Same thing, like a safety goggles here would make it so you actually have pivots for like a Mungus and stuff if you still wanted to keep this Mon. Rocky Helmet here is okay, but I think you'd get more value in like a regional setting. Like, so Rocky Helmet Torn does a good job of like disincentivizing like Urshifu, and it's like pretty good into like a lot of different matchups. It's good against Shenpao, disincentivizes those Ice Spinners. Like, I get that, that's good. But like, when you go to a regional, for those of you guys that haven't been to one, regionals are actually like for the first 3 or 4 rounds, honestly, like a little bit easier than just ladder. Like, you're not going to fight as optimized teams. You're going to wish that you had a little bit more special attack, a little bit more speed, and you're just going to want to bully people. Especially, like, you're running, like, Taunt Torn. Like, what are you trying to taunt with, like, only a 168 base speed? This is letting you outspeed base 100. That's fine. But then, like, you might as well just go full speed if you're going to go this much and still run Taunt, in my opinion. That being said, we're going to take a look at the rental code one more time, and feel free to question any of the changes that I'm going to make here. But again, these are just my changes and how I would look at them. So again, the team is right here. And like I said, I think it does a lot of things right. I'm not a big fan of Taunt Tornadus in Open Team Sheet. I'm not a big fan of Clear Amulet and Life Orb on these 2 mons because it tells you too much about what your EV spread is. It makes you really linear, right? Especially on the far draft. I like the Helping Hand, but like, you can do the same thing with a Goth, right? So with what you're trying to do with this far giraffe, you're trying to say, I am limiting your ability to go for priority moves, and I have ability to go for Helping Hand with myself, enabling my teammate. Goth can do the same thing, but with fake out pressure, and instead of limiting priority moves, you're limiting their ability to switch, and that is huge. I think Goth would be a really, really good change to this team. It's my personal opinion, and if you're, again, worried about like how you match up against other priority mons, I think that, like, realistically, you have a lot of priority yourself, and you have more aggressive speed tiers to be able to bully them and leverage them. So that's just what I would do. So I would probably make the far draft into a Goth and the Amoonguss into a Water Pond. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at here. So we're going to go into the team building part right here. Let's, before we get into that, just re-look at what they said their team needs to work on. So they said they have far draft for Helping Hand support, as well as protection from priority moves. Shenpao boosts the damage outcome not only from Scizor, but also Swin Arcanine. Amoonguss is a defensive switch in, and Torn is a tailwind setter. So again, I feel like if we're just using Amoonguss as a defensive switch in, Water Pond does a better job. After testing the team, it really struggles against Heatran and Roaring Moon / Weezing teams. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Roaring Moon Weezing. I still think it's very good, but like, you're probably going to go the whole tournament, and worst case scenario, you're going to fight 1, and it's not worth completely changing how your team works to fight against 1. That being said, Heatran is going to be very, very hard to deal with, and that's one of those things where, like, if we had like a Water Pond, and if we, change our Arcanine spread a little bit, use our Shenpao a little bit differently, and then add like a Gothitelle, we can pin the Heatran, force it to Terra, and if it doesn't, it could risk getting KO'd. Play around it to protect, and then just trap it there. So we can actually just like have Goth on the board. If they ever have Heatran on the board, you just pivot in your Water Pond, and that Heatran will die, or Terra. And if it does Terra, things like Scizor beat it, things like Arcanine beat it, things like Shenpao beat it. So it's like, this just solves so many problems that the team already has, in my opinion. And they said, any ideas are appreciated, any monster switch out or moves EVs. I'm going to do my very best to help. So going into this, Scizor, it looks good. We're going to leave it blank for now. We're going to take this and turn it into a Goth. We're going to take this and we're going to turn it into a Water Pond. So Gothitelle right here. And if you don't want to run Gothitelle, I don't think you have to, but this is just how I would do it. Again, you don't want to use Frisk. Shadow Tag's the ability you want. Fake Out's still going to be really good. Fake Out's going to be good. You can still get that Helping Hand. You can still have him onto Trick Room there, Trick Room, if you would like to do it, which is one of the reasons why Far Draft is on that team. And the last move here, I actually do like Psychic, and we're going to show you a couple different Gothitelle EV spreads to get the value that you want out of this Pokemon. So we'll show you a couple of them. And as for the Water Pond can do a few different things. It can do a few different things. So we go Ogre Pond, Wellspring Mass. Remember, when this thing Terras, it gets a +1 Spit F boost, so it's really, really bulky. We definitely want Spiky Shield and Follow Me on this thing, because that's its whole role, right? But then from there, I think that like just having a standard like Horn Leech and Ivy Cudgel will be good. I think that there are situations where like you might want to go Swords Dance in some situations. No, this is fine. And then from there, let's go and change this Terra. I'm a big fan of Dragon Terra because this thing does a really, really good job of disincentivizing Urshifu, really, really good against Urshifu. And really, really good against Sunroom. And really, really good against Lilligant and things like that. Dragon Turret's going to be very, very nice here. Let's just do the Gothitelle since we're already over here. I'm going to plug in Gothitelle. All right. I have so many teams. Look how many freaking teams we have here, guys. I have, what is it? There's so many teams. I have 2,144. That's a lot. So these are just some of the Gothitelle spreads I've used recently. This Gothitelle spread is my personal favorite because this really bullies out other Amoonguses and other Iron Hands. So really, really good stuff here. I think it's about as good as you're going to get. You want Helping Hand over Protect, that's completely up to you. But the 84, we're just going to copy this over and bring it over right here. And like you said you wanted Helping Hand, which Helping Hand's great on Goth. But yeah, solid set. This lets you really like 2 to 3 shot most Iron Hands. Amoongus gets, if they swap it in, it gets super chunked. That being said, I like everything about this. You have enough speed to actually have like a relatively fast fake out. Goth has a much faster fake out than things like Iron Hands do. So really, really good stuff. And then from there, the last thing I would do is maybe make this like a 244 and add like just a little bit more defense. Just because you want that to be an even number if you're going to be using the Citrus Berry. If you are using the Citrus Berry. If you're not going to be using Citrus Berry, you would make this into more of like a safety goggles to be able to play against other Amoongus, and it's so good with safety goggles. Like, this thing with safety goggles basically just comes in on Amoongus and says like, what, bro? You can't do anything. You could also make it like Covert Cloak is another solid option. I think there are just so many really good items on Goth right now, and I think we probably should be using the Citrus Berry on our Scizor. That's just my opinion. Like, I understand the value of Clear Amulet, but like, you shouldn't be leading with Scizor anyways. You should be closing with Scizor, in my opinion. So that being said, Citrus is really good on the Scizor, so we should try and like have that for the late game situations. And then for this Gothitelle, Rocky Helmet is also super viable. I know you're using your Rocky Helmet on your Tornadus, so, you know, it kind of sucks. But that being said, like, Goggles is good here. If you also want to be like that guy that uses like a pinch berry, like a wiki berry, it will be valuable. Another thing that I like doing here, maybe you might like this as well, is Leftovers and Protect. This is a set that I'm very fond of as well. The last thing you'd want to do there is optimize your HP to be able to correctly work with Leftovers, which is dividing them by 16. So then I'm just going to pull up my little calculator here on my phone and go, let me just check it, 176 divided by 16 goes into 11. So this will always give you the max amount of Leftovers recovery. And it's a solid set, so maybe think about doing that one. Wellspring Mask, I think that you probably want enough speed in here. 130 is actually a pretty good number, and because we have Tailwind calcs involved, like, we don't really need to be that fast. That being said, like, you can make this thing full speed, super, super fast, always even outspeed, like, Urshfus and stuff, but I don't necessarily think that's worth it. I think you always want to outspeed non-scarfed Landos is something I like outspeeding, but also outspeeding, like, Modest Goldango is very important. So that's going to be like 84 speed on a Modest Goldango. Let's leave it like a 252. So getting that to something like 137 is going to be as fast as you would ever need to be. You would never need to be faster than that. And anything faster than this is basically still functioning like this much speed. Remember, the whole point of this guy, what your Amoongus was it was a defensive pivot, right? So being able to soak as much damage as possible is going to be the best. As far as like damage, I want to make sure that we can try an Oko Heatran if possible. So let's just plug in like a Wellspring Mask. So Ogerpon Wellspring, let's just do a blank set versus like Heatran. So let's see how much damage we do versus Heatran. Blank set on this guy as well. So we plug in Ivy Cudgel and make it water. So Ivy Cudgel does a lot with 0 attack investment. Let's see what would happen if we made ourselves adamant. And this is also against the Heatran. There's no investment right now. So we'll KO like Sweeper Heatran, like a 252 speed special attack Heatran. But let's just say it's like one of these Heatrans. We want this to KO if possible without the use of Shempow. And we can definitely get that. Now, they could be a little bit bulkier, but we also have the option to layer up some other priority moves or just like swap in Shempow. Like, what if like we, for some reason, had like a Sword of Ruin calc? Sword of Ruin. That's not Sharpedo. Anyways, give our item back. Wellspring Mask, and like, yeah, we would change the ability here just to show what the calc would look like. So Sword of Ruin here would make that do even more damage. So we were able to pin their Heatran here. So like 204 is all we really need, in my opinion. If you want to take some out, you definitely can. And then from there, we just throw the rest in bulk. I would throw the rest into like preferably like, actually, is that all the points? Oh my gosh, that's perfect. So we can actually cut this up into a 244. And then just go 4-4 here. Cool. Works. If you want a little bit more speed, put a little bit more speed. If you want a little bit more attack, put a little bit more attack. If you want a little bit more bulk, put a little bit more bulk. Pretty easy. Pretty easy for this one. As far as this Scizor goes, I think we should definitely make this a Citrus Berry, because like we can Swords Dance through Intimidates. If we weren't running a Swords Dance Scizor, yes, you could use a Clear Amulet. If you had like a 3-move Scizor with like Close Combat, Bullet Punch, U-Turn, or like Bug Bite, it would be totally fine to use Clear Amulet there. But because we have the ability to use Swords Dance, think about it. If it takes a turn for them to swap in an Intimidate user, that's one turn that it took for them to do that, give you a -1. We can use that same turn to get a +2 off a Swords Dance. So we have a counter to Intimidate built into our Scizor set, and now we have the option to go like redirection a little bit. Like we can go follow me Swords Dance into like follow me until this thing goes down, KO things with Scizor when we feel like it, then bring out a Fake Out user, they're pinned, and we just take out things whenever we feel like it. It's really, really nice. That being said, I think with Scizor, we're going to get a little bit more value out of putting some more points in HP as opposed to these defensive stats. That being said, I think you said that your calcs were for something, but I don't remember. These calcs are totally fine. This is probably to not die to Urshifu. That's what I'm thinking this is probably for, so we can just leave it. But Citrus Berry is going to be really, really nice. You always want to end this with an even number as well in case you get like hit by a Super Fang or Ruination or something. Tornadus is a bit of a weird one. You know, I'm not a fan of Taunt on Torn. If this was my team, I would be playing this Torn a little bit differently. Because also as well, you also have like Ghost Terra, and you're saying like, hey, if you Fake Out me, you're gonna get Rocky Helmet. But also if you Fake Out me, I can go Ghost. And like, it doesn't vibe very well. And also you had all this on a team with Fargiraffe, you would never need to go Ghost Torn on this sort of set. So that being said, like you could even Covert Cloak this, but I'm not a big fan of Covert Cloak in Open Team Sheet. I think the Rocky Helmet's fine, but I actually just think you're gonna get more value out of just a set like this. Like being, especially at a regional, like you want to know that your Torn isn't getting outsped by their Torn. You want to be able to KO those Rillas. You want to be a bully, right? So we're basically using in a very, very aggressive Torn set. And then we're using the Rocky Helmet to say like, hey, really, really aggressive Torn set here, but I don't lose the Shenpao, right? And that's all you can ask for. I don't think that like dropping your speed makes you susceptible from taunt from other Torns. It's making yourself weaker to things that like you would normally not be weak against. I also think we don't need taunt. What are you taunting? In an Open Team Sheet, they see you have it. What they're going to do is they're going to like pivot around or like Fake Out or do so many other things. You're not really going to get that taunt value. Even if like, for example, like let's say you're playing against like Hisui Guja or something you would like to taunt to stop shelter, they're just going to hit you until you're gone, and then they're going to shelter, right? So I don't see the value in using it. So that being said, the move that I usually like to go here is Icy Wind, and there's a reason why I like Icy Wind. First of all, it's really good versus Lando. It's really good versus Shenpao, really good against Fluttermanes. It basically makes it so if you get up the Tailwind first, you can then just spam Icy Wind until the cows come home. You can actually lead like Torn Goth now and go Fake Out Tailwind safely, and then just spam Icy Wind till one of your Mons drops, then bring out an Arcanine, then bring out or Scizor, and just roll them over. You're a guaranteed super speed control bot when you play it like this. So really, really solid mon. I think this is a good change here. And it's one of those things where simple's better. Just hit hard, be as fast as possible, and you're going to be fine. And on this set, you would keep the Ghost Terra. Choice Band Arcanine. Solid set. I think with where we're looking at now, you want to speed creep that just a little bit more. So speed creep that just a tad bit more. You can also think about maybe going like Fairy Terra Blast instead of the E-Speed set, but I like this set as well. I've been using this in my own games. I think it's probably, there's a reason why it's like the best mon in the game. This is like the safest lead in the game because your worst case scenario trading intimidates, and even in situations where you're giving them like Defiant procs, you could still just OHKO the thing you're giving a proc, so it's still really good. Shenpao. I like this set. Iceman is good here. Ghost Terra, solid. There's nothing wrong with it. So that being said, after all these changes, we click the Validate button, and we're going to go play a couple games on Showdown and see if any of the changes we made actually come into play. So let's go right into it. And I guess we'll play a best of 3 because, well, because that's what we're practicing for. Here we go. So again, this is your daily reminder to leave a like on the video or a comment if you're liking and enjoying this content. And if you want to drop a sub, I'd really appreciate it. So we see Amoonguss with Rocky Helmet. Amoonguss very good. Wellspring, very, very good. They have Grassy Glide and no terrain. So they're trying to catch us using a Rillet, which we're not. Hands. So this is that fat team. Right, that big fat team. So the only thing we really got to do is not lose this Heatran, and it's Booster Flutter. It's probably going to be Booster Speed, but it could still be Booster Special Attack. So that being said, what do we need to do here? I like Gothitelle and Water Pond here. Very, very much. Very, very, very much. You have the Arcanine to be able to close in and close out the games in the back. And this is where Scizor could be good, but I don't really like Scizor into hands. I don't really like Shenpao into it either, but like I'll go Scizor for this game 1 because I think Scizor's gonna be really good at peeling off the Flutter, and then from there in game 2 they're not gonna bring Flutter, which means I'm not gonna need Scizor. So that being said, we're getting intimidated. Oh no, but we have a big fake out, so we're fine. So Choice Scarf Landorus. I would like to condition this Lando into going for a Terra here, so I'm just gonna go fake out into it. And I think I'm just gonna hard swap in my Arcanine and get an Intimidate, and then I'm gonna go like probably just pivot back around. So we're gonna get a free Intimidate here. We're hopefully wasting their Terra. And we should be in a good spot. They might just be wanting to U-turn here. Remember, they can't swap. We have Shadow Tag. So we're in a pretty good spot here. And also, if they had Heatran, well, if they would have led Heatran, it'd be dead, right? We'd be able to fake out and just bonk it. Like, so if they led something stupid, you know, they would have just lost the game. That's one of the good things about Gothitelle. So great Intimidate. We are wasting their Terra. Our fake out's faster than theirs. Remember, we talked about that. This is a great turn from us. They wasted their Terra. They got double intimidated. Now they're going to go for a Stomp Tantrum in here. We're going to swap in our Grass type, and we're just going to get a free Psychic off into the hands. And what can they do? They can't switch, right? They got to go like all in these situations. We could also like normal Terra, E-speed one of those guys, and like pivot into Shenpao if we had it. It's so cool. Stomp Tantrum, we don't care. Psychic, look at that damage versus vested hands. It's so nice. Drain Punch, it's good damage, right? But now they've locked in that. So I think we're in a really, really good spot here. We can go Spiky Shield. You can Stomp and Tantrum over here. But, like, let's think about what we really, really want to do. We can just kill this. And I can Terrastalize. Let's think. What's the only way that we lose here? They're going to double into this guy, but I don't think it matters. I think I'm just going to go Psychic and Cudgel it. Yeah. Stomp and Tantrum. We know they're going to do it. They think we're Stomp and Tantruming. So big damage. Look at that. Big bonk hammer. We take it out because we are more faster in the hands. You could totally hit us. Like, mission accomplished. Like, what's the issue here? We still haven't Terra'd, remember. They totally did. We're going to bring the Arcanine out here, and now Arcanine's just going to be able to just bully their Heatran. There's the Heatran right there. We should be able to get the one-shot now that they can't pivot in the... they cannot pivot in the... Sorry, other stupid mon. They can't pivot in Lando. Just go away. This is Life Orb Heatran. Oh, and you see it didn't die there, but Gothitelle comes in hot in just a sec. Gothitelle coming in hot. Oh, they got Life Orb. This is going to redirect. They're faster than our Goth, so it's a very, very fast Heatran. They get the Drain Punch off, but like, that's a -2 hands. We can finish off Gothitelle this turn, and we still have our Scizor. What could they possibly have in the back? It's Flutter. We talked about that already. Holy moly, it's almost like we play the game. And this is going to make it so they're not bringing Flutter in game 2. They just scoop it up. They just big scoop it up. Holy moly. Yo, game went exactly like we wanted to. So we talked about like what your potential... Oh, they just dipped. Bro, they just absolutely dipped, right? So I don't think we're going to get like a better example of like how this team needs to win instead of that. We made them waste every single resources, and we used the 2 mons that we added to give ourselves this matchup. I would say that normally, versus the version 1 of this team, that would have normally been an auto loss, I would say. Like the big, thick, like Heatran fat team would have absolutely like walled the crap out of us. But now, like we forced them to reveal resources, waste resources, punish them, and the Goth like does such a good job if you provide that Intimidate support about checking Iron Hands. So hopefully you like these changes. If you guys want me to fix your teams, feature them in a video like this, and do everything that I can to help. The Patreon is right here. You know, the holidays are always kind of slow. Even the $2 tier, the lowest tier, gets access to this post, all of the rental codes for all the teams that I make get uploaded every other day. There's a new post on Patreon going over some of that stuff. I've been working on a lot of articles, a lot of like team fixings, just so much cool stuff's over there. I would highly recommend, or I would appreciate it if you went and checked it out. So let me know if you have any questions about the Patreon. I'll do my best to answer in the comments below. And again, you can definitely try out this rental code as well. This version is fine. I just think that like the Water Pond gives this team a lot more like fluidity, not just because it's a water type. I think the Water Pond really expands and helps this team deal with some rough matchups like things like Heatran. So hopefully you like these changes. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out. I'll see you guys next time.